I can't believe it. Sammy Hagar is on our podcast.
He is.
Can you believe this?
Oh, it does say right here.
It's kind of weird. You're wearing a shirt with your own name on it.
I didn't mean to, but yeah. Advertisement, you know.
Have you been getting Sammy'd lately? He cut his hair.
Yeah, I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
No, I'm not going to do it.
No.
The short stuff and the big gray beard. No.
No. So haven't been Sammy'd in a while then.
Nope.
That's good. Well, Doug Wickersham is with us, and thanks for showing up, Doug. This is a special episode for me, that's for sure. You're a legend in this industry, and important part of my first days at work, and we'll talk about that in a bit.
Yeah, when you were just a little puppy.
Just a little puppy. Yeah.
Wagging your little tail.
Mm-hmm. Taking a week to find out you were making fun of me the whole time.
Yeah, and that's when we learned you piddled a lot. We had to,
Piddled.
Puppies piddle.
Yeah. No, I didn't like you for about 6 months.
I know.
Yeah.
Maybe
a year.
You just didn't understand, but yeah, I know.
That was the reaction you were wanting, though.
Of course. Well, no, not really, but I also didn't know that you hated me. I just thought you just didn't want to come around. Afraid to, you might say.
All right, we're getting into it. So we might as well tell the embarrassing story of me, I suppose. I guess you did this with lots of people, but you would come up and I remember the first thing was, it was, hey, Ace. It was, hey, Ace. And you were asking, talking to me about what's going on. And I remember going home for a couple of days going, I think I'm pretty good. This guy calls me Ace. I was 18 years old and didn't know that you were making fun of me. I was that just unaware and sort of ignorant to the working world, I guess.
Yeah.
And then when I was told that I was being made fun of, that this is not a compliment, I didn't like you. But you know what it made me want to do was make me better than everybody else, so you wouldn't have the right to make fun of me.
Wow, that is deep.
Yeah.
I did not know.
Yeah, it drove me to be better.
Wow, I should have been a psychiatrist or something, because I really got down into it,
This is what you were doing. Yeah.
Ace. I don't remember the Ace part because I don't know what that means myself. So
yeah. But then I don't remember some of the other ones, but they were practical jokes.
But did we do anything like do you remember like the meanest practical joke? Because I've done so many, I don't know. Well,
I think the one that almost got me was Kevin Davis comes and brings me a circuit board.
Oh, here we go.
About yay big.
Yeah.
And he says, hey, take this into Doug and Ray's shop and have them remove this chip off there. They got the chip puller.
Yep.
Which, first of all, a chip puller is kind of a silly, screwdriver pries it off. But I didn't know.
Well, it's an EEPROM, and you don't want to use a screwdriver on an EEPROM. That was kind of the...
Yeah, used it for about 10 years. Worked fine. But okay. So I go in there and tell you, hey, Kevin says, would you take this off? And you said, yeah, no problem. He hands it to Ray. You got the chip puller? And Ray goes, yeah. And Ray comes around and he's got like a 2-pound mallet and just starts smashing it to bits. And then tosses a chunk of it at me and he says, next time you tell Kevin to take his own chips off.
That's exactly.
Get out of my shop.
And this was a routine we did to everybody?
And I'm like, I've been employed like a month, right? Like all I wanted to do was, have this cool job. And I don't think I moved. I didn't move. And then maybe it was you that cracked the smile first. And I went, oh my gosh. And then you two were just rolling laughing. But I remember that one. I think I saw you do that about 6 times.
Yes.
I remember one guy grabbed his lunchbox.
Yes, I was going to mention that.
Out the door. He quit.
And they had to chase him down.
Did they?
Got him back, yeah.
We got him back?
Yeah.
Okay.
Because he I don't know how much Kevin told you, because Jody Shadden, I don't know if you remember him or not, but sometimes we'd have you wear them blue gloves and tell you cannot touch the board only by the corners and bring it in, be very delicate and set it down on this little blue mat we had. And that's when either Ray was there or I was there. One of us would ask for that special tool to replace it. And that's when we come in and smash the hell out of it. Yeah. And then we, of course, tell them, yeah, you don't ever come in here again with your stupid stuff. Tell them they can do their own. And Kim Carter, we did it to him.
Okay.
You know Kim Carter?
Of course. He's still here.
Poor Kim. Yeah, he he had the kind of the same effect. He wasn't too happy. So,
Yeah. Well, yeah,
but these
that makes
boards,
sense.
all they were, they had a batch of boards that were bad and they couldn't change them or fix them. So they were just going to throw them away. So, of course, Ray and I go, I know what we can do with these boards. So we talked the crew over there into suckering you poor guys in to come into our shop and having our little fun.
I mean, that was about the start of manufacturing a whole lot of the Zon 750s.
Yes. 550s first.
550s first, but the 750 was real kind of ramped up, right? There were more orders, more people getting hired. So, yeah, you guys had more people to mess with that hadn't seen any of the old jokes.
Whole valley full of them.
Yeah. At least for me, I was so young. I look back and think about how that toughened me up and made me not care after a while what negative things somebody might say to me. I'm going to keep moving forward.
There you go.
So I appreciated the lesson as a grown man looking back at the time.
Yeah.
Like, oh, man.
But, we Ray and I, we did tons of jokes, practical jokes to everybody all the time. But we did always try to actually teach them things and stuff. So, but we just had to do that. And it would weed out the weakies, the ones that ain't going to make it. Some of them would maybe not come back the next day, but whatever.
I mean, I carried the tradition on, and that kind of stuff still happens in this industry.
Well, every industry has what do you call it?
Like a light hazing or something?
Hazing, some sort or another, just to break them in, and finally, hopefully you get them laughing and joking, and like, oh, okay, and now everything's fine,
So, fast forward about 4 years, and I'm lead on the manufacturing floor, electrical assembly, the new building, right? It's about 01. I started in 97. I probably sent 20 people after the cable stretcher.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, we'd find somewhere it didn't quite fit. Cable stretcher out back in that yard. Don't come back without it.
Yeah.
Man, there was one guy. It was a couple hours. We had to go looking.
Oh, mercy.
He was way out in the field. He wasn't going to give up.
And see, so now how do you feel about that? You picked on these poor people.
I know. And now, a little later, some of them will find me and go, I didn't like you.
Yeah. You bastard.
And I will have earned it. Yeah. That was, but I started in 97, but when did you start?
1982. 1982. Yeah, it was, back then to get hired, there was a building downtown on Curry Street. It's a real tall, skinny building, 112 Curry Street.
Wow.
You walk in, they have a piece of paper, you sign your name on it, they give you a hard hat, and they throw you out the door. Said, you're hired. And then you drive your own vehicle up on the mountain up there.
Okay.
And then once you get up there, they'll tell you who to get in contact with because they had different things going on. And with me, it was Lloyd Hertzinger.
Oh, yeah.
Hertzinger, or however you say his last name.
Right.
He did all kinds of stuff, but out on Seaside, which you wouldn't know what that is, but that's these wind turbines called Carters. They were just a small little two-bladed wind turbine.
Two-bladed?
Yep. And they're digging electrical trenches to run the underground cable to, and our job was just to make sure if there's any cave-ins to clean out that, and then make sure the entire bottom of the ditch was smooth with no rocks, so that when they laid the cable down and covered them up, you didn't pinch or screw up the cables. So when I got up there, I'd just get in a truck with about 3-4 other guys, and they hand us a shovel, and we're in the back of the truck, and they take us out to the site. And that's how it started right there. So
that was day one.
I was just a ditch digger, and that's how it started. But it didn't last very long because 3 days into it, if you notice on that picture.
Which one? Hand that over.
Not this one, but
I'll grab it, Doug.
If you look,
let's put that up there.
If you look right here, this right here.
Yeah.
These are bases to these windmatics. And what it is, windmatics only came at 60 foot.
Okay.
Because in Denmark or Germany, wherever all these turbines come from, the winds were usually on flat land, so the winds were smooth.
Oh.
But up here, the winds changes as it goes over the mountains. So we found out that the higher they are, the better the wind flow is, because sometimes wind will only hit the top of the blade, believe it or not the bottom. So we built these bases here, and I saw a crew building these things off to the side. And so on the third day, I got in the truck, grabbed my shovel, and just as Lloyd was taking off, I jumped out of the truck and I told everybody bye. And they thought I was quitting. No, I ran over to the crews that were building these bases, and I just walked over like, because this is what I want to do. So I went over there, assholes and elbows. I just started putting them things together. We had this boss. He walked around with a gray hard hat because I guess that's the sign that he's the boss.
The colored hard hats.
Yeah. And he had a microphone. He's always talking to his microphone to somebody, a little radio. And so he saw me over there working, and he just sat there for 2-3 hours, just sitting in his truck. And he finally comes over and he goes, "Hey, you, who are you?" I told him who I was, and he goes, "Are you supposed to be here?" I go, "Yeah. My boss told me that I need to come over here and start doing this stuff instead of what I was doing." He goes, "Well, who's your boss?" And I go, "I don't remember his name. I'm brand new." But I was out working the dudes that he had there.
Mm-hmm.
So a week later, I was in charge of the entire crew of assembling those things.
Holy smokes.
So we were just building all these bases, setting them up. And then, of course, the crane crews come in and would stack the Windmatic tower on top of these things. And it was a lot of fun.
What were the name of these two companies back then?
The two.
Well, you started with one on 112 Curry Street.
Well, that was Zond.
And you got it. Oh, that was
Zond
Zond
Systems, yeah.
Okay. And then it was still Zond?
Yep.
Building the bases, just a different crew.
Yeah, different, because they had assembly crews, blade assembly crews, tower assembly crews, foundation crews. And over the years, I did everything from the caissons, the footings, to final construction, to everything. So I just did it all over the years, but it was a lot of fun.
Look at that.
I loved it.
You weren't afraid to go get the job you wanted.
Nope.
Gosh, I love that.
I ended up being a boss pretty much the whole time I was there. So.
Of course. You knew what you wanted.
Yeah.
You went out and got it.
I loved it.
What am I looking at, though? Where is this?
Okay, here is B building. That's a building up on top of the hill.
Okay.
And this is what we call Plinko Point out here, which you can't see in that picture, but it's looking back towards it. So there's B building. That's the desert out there.
That's Mojave's to the right?
Yeah, over that way.
Z building would have been
B building.
Yeah, but where from?
Oh, down this way. You
down
got
that.
down
Okay.
Canyon.
Trying to think about which way I'm looking at it.
Yeah,
I got
so
you.
we're kind of facing east here.
Gotcha.
And so these are all the Windmatic wind turbines, and this row of Plinkos right here on top.
And that B building there is where the first Zond turbine was manufactured? No.
They were working on ideas up there and testing them, but they didn't build. No, they built them down at the Z building.
I saw that, and I remember the roof was kind of cut to come off.
Yeah, because they were putting gearboxes in there,
designing there.
And well, what they were doing is they were testing. They put a gearbox generator and all that stuff, and run them against each other to just to test out the equipment. So there's a lot of testing going on back
R&D.
Yep.
This episode brought to you by RST Cranes. With over 30 years of experience, RST Cranes brings the industry expertise to every project. From wind turbines to solar inverters, mining operations to industrial construction, RST Cranes is your heavy lift specialist, located in Tehachapi, California, and serving the surrounding areas. Contact RST Cranes for your next project at www.rstcranes.com.
You notice there's little snowbanks there?
Yep.
Back then we could also, we'd bring beer and we'd go out to the snowbanks and throw all our beer in there. That way at the end of the day, it was nice and cold. And so we'd get our beer, go back to that B building there and sit outside and drink some beers, and then we went home. Eventually that had to go away.
It's a heck of a view.
Yes.
I mean, it's gorgeous being up there.
It is. It's
yeah.
fun.
No, that's a good place to decompress after work. Yeah.
It was, until they finally realized we shouldn't be drinking beer on the property. So they eventually told us we need to go home. But it was fun at the time.
I was thinking about this earlier. A podcast host is the first job I've had where I get to drink on the job.
Well, then, here's to indeed. I can go with that. I hope when I was turning this way, you could still hear me. Yeah, okay.
Yeah. Well, I'll drink or do whatever the guests want is kind of what I've been doing. Why are we drinking Heinekens?
That's happened with the Danes from Denmark with the Vestas wind turbines, because Vestas, the Dielsen and all the original the people that started Zon, they went over to Denmark, or actually just went overseas, to try to find wind turbines to bring over here. Because the ones we had, the Carters and the Stormmasters and the two-bladed ones, SCIs, I think they're called, I don't remember. Those were all just small little things.
Okay.
They wanted something bigger, so they went over to the Netherlands over there, wherever they might have gone, and they wanted to get something else. So they were supposed to meet the guys from Vestas, but they ended up stopping somewhere else first and then told Vestas, well, now we don't want your turbines. We found something else. And Vestas said, no, you really got to come check this out. So they went over there, and Zon people end up leaving with 2 Vestas turbines that they brought over there. So number 1 and number 2, which you can't see in this picture, it's because it's way it's way over on this side over here.
Okay.
So you can't see them, but they were the very first 2 Vestas wind turbines. So after a while, we loved that. They were the V15 ones, loved them. So we ordered a whole bunch more. So many that Vestas had to increase their productivity and amount of people. And they started having night shifts going because we needed so many turbines. And they would get in one 40-foot container, they'd have 2 nacelles, 2 sets of blades, and 2 sets of towers all stacked and packed into those 40-foot containers.
Wow.
And so the night crew would leave in there Playboy magazines and empty Heineken bottles.
Okay.
So
the Danish night crew?
Yes. So so we knew when the containers came, we knew which container was a day crew and which container was a night crew. So we would try to send things back to them. We'd try to put only when we had to return something. Otherwise, they'd never get there. But yeah, so it was kind of a fun joke, a fun thing at the time. So we all started drinking Heineken. It's a Danish beer.
Yeah.
And so we would always drink Heineken. And so I just figured, Vestas kind of started my adventure because I love Vestas turbines, and we'll drink Heineken to them.
You got it.
To our little Danish friends.
That's pretty cool. What were you putting? American beers? Budweiser?
Yeah, it was Budweiser. Yeah. It's before Bud Light.
Oh my goodness, that's funny.
Yeah, it was cool. It was fun.
No, never a full beer. Always the
no,
empty
they're
ones.
empties. They ain't that stupid. Ain't gonna waste it. I don't know if they ever got in trouble for that stuff, but
no,
it was fun.
Didn't even have an international phone working back then.
Yep.
Yeah. Well, this was what year then?
Well, I wasn't there yet.
Well, this is before. Okay.
Well, when the containers came in, I was, but for the number 1 and 2 turbines there, that was like the year before I started.
I got you. 81.
But yeah, and then in 82, that's when we started getting a whole bunch of stuff, and that's when I went from building these Winmatics and stuff, and Plinkos, I guess we'll talk about them too. But we're doing all that stuff first, and then the Vestas came in, and we started putting them up.
Okay.
So let me show you something on this one.
Yeah.
These Palinkos, these blades are all metal.
Yeah.
Not fiberglass or anything. They're big, heavy pieces of curved metal in 2 sections. So you bolt the 2 sections together. Okay. And then we got the tip flaps on the end for overspeed.
Oh, they deploy.
Yeah. And then and you notice it has the same thing as
Winmatic.
Winmatics. If you notice, it has little fans on the side there. So if the wind comes from one direction, it spins, and there's a gear inside. A big gear goes down, a small one to a yaw box, and it would make the yaw box turn the wind turbines around.
Electric motor, or was it being wound by that small?
All it was a shaft that went through one of these on each side.
Purely mechanical yaw.
Mechanical, and it had a big sprocket on it, and the sprocket went to a yaw gear with a sprocket on it. And so from a big sprocket to a small one, and it would turn that yaw gear, and then the yaw gear would turn the turbine. So if the wind was hitting this direction, it'd turn it one way. If it was coming from the other side, it'd turn it the other way. It's pretty cool little design.
Pretty darn brilliant.
But that's how they did it.
Yeah.
But the funny thing is, when they were building these turbines, or the towers, before they put the nacelle on top, it looked like missiles.
Oh, yeah.
So me and a friend of mine that was working there, Jerry Carson, we decided we're going to tell people in town that we are building military missiles on top of that mountain for nuclear warheads. They'll all be up there. Eventually, we will drop them down onto the ground and then cover them up. And then that way, we are protected here in California. We got our own nuclear stuff. And people in town believed it.
Yeah.
They were talking about it, writing stories about it. And of course, we had to tell them that's not true, because once they saw the nacelles on top and the blades, they figured, oh, wind turbines.
But threat of nuclear war was a big deal. But was this the duck and cover era?
Yeah.
Was this the duck and cover era?
It was after the duck and cover.
But okay, so those people were.
But it's still, it was
had
just
the duck and cover fear.
It was just a fun thing to do. It was like, because they did look like missiles when they were sitting there. It was pretty neat. And of course, there was kind of a grayish green, weird kind of green color. So it almost looked military in a way. So we got away with it. We got away with it.
They
for
were
a little
buying
while.
it.
Yeah. It was fun.
Yeah, I'd looked at it and went, dang, sure. Yeah. What size like generators? Kilowatt?
They were like
remember?
55 kW, 65 kW, and like the Vestas had like the Vestas had a main generator and a small generator inside of them. So the small one was anywhere from 11 kW to 13 kW. They were small. No. So when the turbine was spinning real slow and low winds, it would run that little generator. Then once the winds picked up, it'd switch over to the 65 kW, 55, 65, and then it went on from there.
Yeah, the little auxiliary was belt driven.
Yes.
I've been up a few of them.
Yep.
Changed out a few of those belts. Yeah.
Yeah, just belt drive from the main generator to the small one.
Clever. Yeah. It's clever.
It was. And I'll tell you what, the V15 wind turbine, which are still on that mountain today, has got to be the most durable wind turbine, to me, ever built.
Yep.
They came out with the V17 later, but the V17, once these things start getting bigger and bigger, more problems come in. But the gearbox and everything about these little V15 turbines just ran and ran and ran all the time. Yep. The biggest problem was mostly either the yaw gear, because there's a lot of wear on the gear and the slew ring and stuff turning around, and sometimes the hydraulic system would fail after a while. So, but other than that,
what was hydraulic on it?
The brakes.
Brake?
Yeah.
Okay. Right, and then the gears. Yeah, I remember there were welding crews that would just go weld teeth.
Yep.
Build teeth back up.
Yeah, they were trying to replace them, but it was hard to get the slew rings. So yeah, they'd go out there and they had a little jig, a little pattern, and they go just build up these. Sometimes they would actually cut them out of old slew rings that we had on the ground.
Oh,
that were already messed up on, because the winds usually come from the same direction all the time, and then of course it changes. But so the gearbox or the yaw gear would wear on one side of the slew ring more than anywhere else.
Sure.
So it wears so bad that when they replace them, they put a new one up there. So then I think Johnny Papasergia and some other people decided, well, you know what? If we take those old slew rings and just cut out a section of teeth and go up there and weld that back in.
Done.
It worked great. Yeah.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
They used to do tons of that stuff. So.
Oh my goodness. All right. So you saw this mountain with no wind turbines on it.
Well, just the tiny little baby turbines they had for a while there.
How old were you when you started?
Oh my gosh. Let's see. Rocks were still soft. So.
Dirt was just invented.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, dirt was still hard. We had to jump on a lot to break it down.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
So, no, I think I was 24, I think.
Okay.
I'm guessing. Yeah.
Yeah.
24.
So you saw this hill with almost no wind turbines on it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I remember we used to ride motorcycles on that mountain all the time. Mm-hmm. Then all of a sudden they start putting fences up and wouldn't let us in. We're like, why? And that's when we started seeing all these little tiny wind turbines going up. Like, what in the world? They're going to kick us off this mountain just because of these stupid little wind turbines?
Yeah.
But I guess part of the problem was they fly apart and they didn't want us around and get hit by them. So
good call.
we used to call the storm masters the go masters, because they'd get out of control spinning and the blades would go flying and everything.
Oh my goodness.
And same thing with Windmatics.
They would do too.
The Windmatics had fiberglass blade, but they had what they called stay rods. It went to so you got the three blades and there's a little tower in the middle, and then they had these rods that went out from the outer part of the blade up to the middle of this cone.
Oh.
And that's how we adjusted the blades, make sure they're all perfectly in plane. But what happened is when they're running and stuff with the wind effects up on that mountain up there, it's really bad. It's not like a pretty smooth wind. It's constantly changing. It would put pressure on those things a lot. So the stay rods would end up breaking at the knuckles, at the joints, and end up breaking loose, and then and take off flying and get into the ground. So when one happened, we had to run away,
Yeah,
wait for the results.
sure. Yeah, you wait for the wind to stop. That's
Yes.
there's nothing you can do.
Yeah, but
I
man,
still see some Windmatics out there, I think.
yeah, there is.
I don't know. Are there Plinkos out there?
No, Plinkles are all
I
gone.
don't think I see those.
I don't know. I haven't really looked on that mountain much
I
lately.
haven't even
but
heard of a Carter. So is there one?
a Carter is, it didn't last very long.
That was a two blade.
Yeah, it was a 2-blade one. They were really small for a while. Then they went to these real tall Carters. And I don't know what they called them or anything because I didn't pay much attention to those. And then some other sites actually started buying Carters, and we didn't mess with them anymore. But
Okay.
yeah, it's just a little 2-bladed wind turbine.
It's been a long time, but once upon a time I was doing a lot of studying on the design and engineering of wind turbines, and I geek out on the transfer of wind energy into mechanical movement. And theoretically, the least amount of material you have to move, the higher the ratio of transfer. So one blade is the best. So I get how 2 is better and 3 is worse, but 3 is balanced.
Yeah, I don't know how one would work.
There were turbines.
Really?
People were trying it.
Do you remember the egg beaters?
Yes.
Yeah, those are dangerous as hell, but they're pretty.
Flow wind?
Yeah, flow wind. Yeah,
Flow wind.
it's a pretty cool idea
Why was it dangerous as hell? I didn't know that.
because those, once they get out of control, they had all kinds of mechanical stuff at the bottom, all kinds of yaw gears and everything. But once they get out of control, those nice curved blades would break at either top or bottom, and they'd go flying. And it's a pretty big
Blade.
It's a pretty big thing.
Yeah.
And once one went, of course, everything went. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, they were on the ridge here where I think the site is called Alta 10 exists today.
Okay.
Right? When you go to 58 from Tehachapi to Mojave, you look on the right.
Yeah.
And we're down that ridge.
Yep.
We'd like to thank our sponsor, Altair Energy Services, and their highly trained, expert technical staff, leveraging decades of renewable power management experience into customized solutions for everyone to meet their energy goals and contribute to a better future for all. Altair's team of hardworking, respected experts are providing full-scope, turnkey repairs, planned and unplanned maintenance, system upgrades, fully autonomous technical crews, supplemental staffing, and customized dynamic scheduling to fit your power production needs. Contact Altair at info@altairenergyservices.com and learn more about their wide range of capabilities across multiple power technologies and platforms. Low wind, egg beaters.
Yep.
Those people have been trying to design the vertical axis wind turbine forever.
I know it.
Now you see like small roof mounted, or I see them in the news where they're like on freeways in Europe while the cars drive by. So it's just keeping them spinning and yeah, odd things. Yeah, vertical axis.
Yeah, you see them a lot on top of tall buildings and especially like in Chicago and stuff because it's windy over there. So yeah, I mean they're pretty cool little ideas that they have. There's all kinds of different ones, but yeah.
And I mean, what's the one I see around town that still exists? Bergie? Is it like for homeowners? White with a yellow nose. You still see them at houses in HP.
Yeah, I don't know what they're called. But
Yeah.
Yeah.
Those have been there.
Yeah, there's
my
quite a few
entire
around.
career.
Some were here just as long as the turbine's been up on that mountain.
Yeah.
There's one up near Mountain Park. I don't know if it's still there, but it used to be just on the mountain before you go up to Mountain Park.
Yeah. I still see one off of
Is
Highline
it up there?
there.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's been there. I don't know how long, forever.
Like my entire career.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All those did is they run charge batteries. That's all it is. So in the
that's
house
right. The charger.
that thing is at, they just had rows and rows of batteries. I'm sure by now they've got something else, but it was deep cell batteries all connected together, daisy chained together or whatever. And so the turbine is just like a giant alternator that would charge all these batteries, and then they had a converter to change it into your house. So
yeah, that's right. The Vestas, those V15s, they're still running. Green Energy out here has been taking care of them. I think it's Green Energy and Windstream are the two company names.
yeah.
We were just out there a couple of weeks ago. Jacob went up a wind turbine.
What'd you go up?
Space Frame Tower, GE17. It's the one that looks like it's wearing a dress.
Oh, okay, yeah, the training tower type thing.
Training, yeah, it's
Yeah.
part of the training facility.
Yeah.
Right. And it has a lift on the inside.
Yes.
Which I've never been up a lift. That's fantastic.
Yeah, I bet. Because all the times I climbed, there was never a lift involved.
No, I never even used a
I never
climb
even-
assist before.
Climbing up some of the taller turbines, I wasn't even around when they started doing the assistant lift, where you still hook up, but something helped to assist you.
Climb
as you climb.
assist.
Yeah, climb
Yeah.
assist. I never did that.
I didn't get that one either.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, no, I never had that one. Never had the lift. So we went up, and the lift in there, it's, today it's, like 3S has the best one, and it's, they modify the ladder, and they put a track on it and then a stand and handles, and you just, it's nice and simple and just riding you up the ladder. This one is kind of like a window washer setup, I think.
Oh.
It's got a couple of cables and a basket, and you have to position yourself because it's just free. It was fantastic, though. You just go for a ride.
Wow.
Yeah, no, that was good. Yeah, got up on top of that, and we went for it. We went for a drive up on the hill, and we went to the B building. And
Oh, you went up to that building up there?
we went to the B building.
What
Yep.
do they do with it now?
It's O&M building. So the guys that take care of those V15s and 17s and everything else that's still on that hill, that's their shop.
Wow. Okay, because that's what it originally was.
Oh.
It was originally for maintenance, and so they built a bunch of rooms in there, and then they had a big area, and then the back they finally did the welding shop. But yeah, so that used to be the O&M building.
Yeah.
Yep.
Now it's back to its
Now it's back
glory
to what it
again.
was.
Yeah.
Because after a while, O&M all moved down below into the building down below, in the Z building, and that was just left for storage and crap, and some of, I don't know if you know Tommy Nemela. I know you know John
Sure.
Nemela, but Tommy and his crew, some of those guys, they were doing the
Yeah, I
testing
know
on
John,
the 550 stuff and everything, and then eventually all that went away too. So
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, there's a great group of guys out there taking care of those, and they found somehow they were able to acquire decommissioned V15s and other models, and acquire
the parts.
They could acquire like almost all of it or all of it. So they have their own, and I don't know how many they can keep running, but they got quite the inventory to keep them going. It's pretty clever.
And one thing they do is, the yaw gears wear out more than anything else on them. So when they didn't have a yaw gear, the yaw pads that the thing floated on, they would clamp them down in the whatever the normal wind direction was, and so they didn't move at all. So if the wind came from the other direction, well, you're not producing anything today, but as normally the winds are always coming the same. So
yeah, Tehachapi's got a strong kind of western,
a northwestern wind that comes in all the time.
Yep. Yeah, no, it was funny when I
Almost
started.
southwestern in a way, but anyway.
Yeah, but when it came from the backside of the mountain from Mojave, there was so many wind turbines, never saw a gust of wind.
Yeah. You know what else is weird too is you'll still see it to this day, because of the difference between the heat of the desert and the moisture and stuff down below. The winds usually come from the San Joaquin Valley, right? So you'll see a row of turbines all facing towards Bakersfield. And then you go on the backside and you see them all facing Mojave, because the winds would come up and they'd meet each other on the mountain there. And so they'd be coming from different sides all at the same time.
Yes.
So it's weird to see them facing different directions.
Yes. And then the shear. So as the turbines got bigger, when it comes up that ridge, it's giving it a lift that it isn't really designed for. You
Right.
know, I mean, some of it can withstand, but it's just a new angle.
Yes.
What else did I see out there? Just on the backside of that hill, there's a whole bunch of 1.5 to 3 megawatt wind turbines. And you can go back there some days and see two of them, half a mile apart, facing opposite directions. Yeah. It's just wild. And the elevation's similar, but because of the mountain and the way the wind's coming in.
Yeah, you got two different canyons on each side of that mountain. So they
like
affect
a quarter
the wind.
mile, not very far.
Yeah.
Not very far. And you just stand there going, that's
weird.
I don't know if that's right. Yeah. Yeah, it's quite the place. It's we've been saying it's the birthplace of wind in our country.
It is.
Did you know of any other place or ever hear of?
No, it was all it started here in the Tehachapi Mountain Range. I think eventually, they started doing Texas and other places, but it all started here. And then eventually with Zahn, we went down to, up north to is
Altamont Pass.
Altamont Pass, yes. So we put up a bunch of wind turbines up there and did that, and then we went down south by the Whitewater Canyon, down to Cabazon and stuff down by Palm Springs.
Yeah.
And we put up a site down there. So those are the 3 windiest places in California.
Yep.
So, that's how it started. Then it started going throughout the rest of the United States. But yeah.
It was proven here that wind turbines can be utility grade and actually make power, make money, be profitable. Yeah.
And I had a job.
And you had a job. So did I. A little later. I guess a lot later, 15 years later. I guess some.
Yeah, I went through. I went from. I ended up in construction most of the time because I like building the towers and stuff. And the maintenance part, I never did maintain turbines, but I did end up being quality control for maintaining the turbines. So it's kind of weird. So I made sure that the guys were doing the maintenance right.
No kidding.
Because since I worked on the turbines so much that I knew exactly how they run, what they're supposed to do, everything about them, and so Ray and I would actually go out and be quality control. And some of the guys didn't like us because we'd find them cheating and not doing their jobs, but
pencil whipping.
Yes, they were. That's exactly what it was.
We still use that term when you find a crew doing that. No, it's
so,
and it costs them their job.
Yeah, and so when Ray and I would do it, nobody knew what turbines we were going to, and so some guys would be working on their turbines because they all have their own sections that they work on, and they'd see us all of a sudden down a road climbing up one of their turbines. They'd panic like, "Oh no, oh God, not these two!" It'd be so bad. But yeah,
I've seen here. Let me keep that. Let me help you out. Get that a little closer to you. I've seen more technicians lose their job for pencil whipping on a maintenance than anything else.
Well, when you do that, you can lose the turbine.
You can lose the turbine.
Especially the hydraulic system. A lot of times, we get runaways and stuff when the brake system doesn't work right and everything. And because especially if you lose power, the wind turbine will not run unless it has power.
Right.
Just because it makes it doesn't mean it'll run without it.
That's right.
So if it's not maintained right, especially the hydraulic system, because when it drops power, the accumulator on that thing is all that's there to apply pressure to those pads. And if you don't maintain that hydraulic system and the power drops and there's a valve that once it loses power, it takes the stored energy in the accumulator and runs it out to the brake pads. If you didn't maintain it, it just goes and nothing happens. And next thing you know,
runaway.
Yep,
runaway. You don't have too many runaways anymore. There's a lot of extra safety systems on the new turbines where that isn't such a big risk. But an improper maintenance, you're risking a lot of loss of power in general is your largest risk. Failure to components, of course, but loss of power when you're producing, a megawatt, 3 megawatts. A downtime a day is worth a lot of money, right? It's funny. A big deal.
It's funny you brought that up because they take. Just imagine a row of V17 towers. Say you have a row of 10 of them, right? And that row of turbines produce so much power. That was my phone.
Oh, that's all right.
So much power, and then they took those 10 down and put one up. So my thing was, okay, if we have 10 running and one goes down, the other 9 are still going, so we're still producing. And we could fix that turbine within a day or so. When the big turbines go down, it might be weeks before it's back online, depending if it's a gearbox or whatever it might be, generator, bearings, who knows. And so you're losing all that power. So I know it's still better to have the big ones, but hey,
Yeah.
I still like the idea of many small ones than one big one.
And then one big one. I get it. No. Yeah, you're partial to them. I get it.
Yes,
I get it. I would be too. But yeah, I'm going to go ahead and reiterate for folks listening. Great way to lose your job. Pencil whip of maintenance. Improper maintenance. It was a big deal in the 80s and it's a big deal today.
It was always a big deal.
Yeah.
And some guys would pencil whip them because if they had 90%, 98% of
availability,
well, they're cheating. The only reason they're getting that is because they're cheating. But then if something happens, then we find out, the only reason you're getting is because you were jumping certain parts of the controller and stuff, bypassing the problem.
Oh, yeah.
So there's an occurring problem on the wind turbine, but you went, you put a jumper wire in there and, look, it's running like crazy. But that's when all the problems start. So
yeah. No, I think my second year of employment, I was out commissioning, and yeah, a couple of the older guys, boy, they taught me how to put jumpers in. Man, everybody had a pocket full of jumpers because this is how you're taught. And I'll remember seeing a runaway and finding out why, and it was this jumper going, okay, I don't want any more jumpers in my pocket. No, I went back to turbines I put them in and went, nope.
Besides, they're not that complicated. Seriously, well, maybe
those would have been the 750s for me.
Okay, but even still, no matter what the turbine is, I mean, the more complicated they got as far as a controller, there is still, I mean, the controller can tell you what's wrong with it,
That's right.
So back in the days when we just had all these relays, had to understand what was going on. You replace the relay, which a lot of people, we'd call them plug and play, because the guys would take a relay out, put a new one in. Oh, it wasn't that one. Okay, try this one. It wasn't that one. And then they would take the ones that they took and take them back down to us, say these are bad, to try to prove that they fix a turbine, so they're giving us good parts.
You called them plug and play.
Plug and play.
We call them part swappers.
Okay.
So very similar.
Yeah.
It still exists.
Yep.
No. And we tease the heck out of those folks.
Yeah.
That's not how you troubleshoot.
Nope.
No.
Like I was saying, the turbines aren't that hard to figure out. I mean, so I don't know. Some guys are just lazy. I don't know. I don't know what the problem is. Or
hey,
I had
to spend a lot of nights studying relay logic. I didn't know what it meant. I didn't know how to read schematics, just relays, the relay logic, and what it was supposed to do at the end, and be able to trace them. Didn't take too long. I mean, a couple of weeks of some evenings. I'm like, okay.
So did you study the European schematics compared to our schematics here?
European
is like the line thing. So you got the power on top and bottom, and everything goes in between it.
That would have been the relay logic ones.
Okay,
yes.
So I actually like it 10 times better than running the schematics that we use here for all kinds of weird stuff.
They're more complex today. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's really simple. It really helped you to figure stuff out. So
yeah, it was simple.
I liked it.
Yeah. No, the newer ones are tougher, but it's the same thing. I looked at it like studying a map if I was going to drive across the country.
Yeah.
You put the time in. And if you're going to drive somewhere, you better study it. You're going to make it. Yeah, it was something similar in my brain, about how to do it. Yeah, part swappers. Plug and play. Yeah, the time before last, somebody gave me one of the V17 module relays. It was shot sitting on my desk just as a little memory.
Oh, yeah, okay.
Remember this? I do. It's come a long way. Yeah, the safety systems are much better today, so you don't have too many runaways and that sort of thing. But no, it causes a lot of downtime, costs a lot of money,
and
oftentimes, 3-4 times your salary is what you can cost your employer for pencil whipping. Yeah. So no kidding, you're going to lose your job.
You can see it in these smaller turbines that that I was involved in. Like I said, you have a row of 10 and one goes down. Well, that's not much,
right?
But if you're pencil whipping a 1.5 megawatt turbine, that's not a good thing.
No, that's a big deal.
Yeah, that's a lot of loss of energy.
Deal. We'd like to take this time to thank another one of our wonderful sponsors, Podge Engineering. Podge Engineering, making wind and solar all we know it can be. Are your renewable energy assets underperforming or not performing at all? Did you expect many years of longevity and they're failing on you now? Podge LLC offers many customized, engineered products and solutions to get these assets back on track. Podge Engineering also performs root cause analysis, engineering services, procurement, and construction. Visit podge.org. That's PADGE.org. Remember Podge, making wind and solar all we know it can be. So, okay, you were quality control for maintenance. That never stopped. That human quality control went for a long time. I think it's less and less today. because of phones and technology and the pictures. So you can get like a document in your phone and it'll tell you to take this before picture. It'll tell you to take this after picture. And so you kind of get these proofs so you can prove it. And I don't know if you can pencil whip that. You know, probably somebody can figure out how to put a fake picture in. I probably couldn't, but
sure, some tech nerds could figure it out.
you know, the advancement of technology's kind of helped a little bit, where you can get like, you know, here's a record, and I can prove it that this was done, and that saves a little bit.
Plus,
of time.
there used to be a thing called the SCADA system. I don't know if they still use SCADA.
Oh hell yeah!
Do they?
Every site, supervisory control and data acquisition.
Right. So even when we first started doing that back in Zahn, Enron days, GE, whatever. That would actually go to a main place and they could see what's wrong with the turbine without ever going to it. So you couldn't pencil whip it once that happens, because now they know, okay, we know what the problem is. We're not going to rely on you telling us what the problem was out there. We already know.
Yes.
So you better make sure you fix it.
I would love to show you a SCADA system today, like from a we call them ROC, Remote Operations Center. Big screen TV, and you can just see every circuit and switch. And if you go and turn a key or flip a switch or bypass it, it shows you. It is unreal today. Amazing. So yes, another good way to lose your job, and the computers are watching you.
Yeah. Essentially.
we joke the robots are watching.
Yeah. They're taking over.
They're taking over. Yeah. We also joke that we got to feed them now.
Oh,
have you heard this one?
No.
Oh, you're going to love it. Well, you know, have you heard of AI?
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
Well, I didn't know that these AI servers are like the shipping containers full of, I mean, it's just massive amounts of computers in a small space. And so it requires a lot of power and then cooling, huge, like large coolers to keep the temperature down. And it requires then a lot of energy to keep that running. And everybody's loving AI. It's helping society. So great. But they require so much energy. So now people aren't just producing electricity for humans. We're producing electricity for the robots.
Okay, I get yeah. Feed them little bastards. Yeah.
They're big bastards.
Yeah.
That's right. Yeah. Red pill or blue pill will become next, right? Or the Matrix.
Yeah. So I remember, I'm going to go back a little bit. You know, like I said, I started with the ditches and I started building the towers, and then final assembly. I have a picture on my phone I should show you.
What's final assembly?
Well, what it was at the time is we build a tower and put it on a stand, right? And then we'd pick the nacelle up and attach it. I mean, so here's a tower. We'd pick the nacelle up and attach it to it. Then we'd take the blades and stack it on top. And so we assemble it there. And the final assembly is when the crane crew came in and they'd take the turbine, they'd pick it up in the air like this and then drop it to the ground, set it on the stand, drop the cables down. The final assembly crew would be the ones that hook up the powers up above, or the cables up above, and hook it to the controller down below, you know, and all that stuff. And that was final assembly. They were the ones that did the final connections for everything before we turned them on.
Yeah, all the electrical connections.
Yes, everything's.
And you were pick. It wasn't a pivot. It was a pick and then a set.
Yeah, so just say this is the I'm not going to spill my beer, believe me. I would never do that.
I don't know.
So we'd have a stand. Look at this. So we'd have a stand holding up this end of the lattice tower. We'd attach the nacelle and put blades on, and then the crane would pick it up like this and then set it onto its pad.
You have a picture of this? You have to send it to me after.
Yeah.
Send it to me afterwards.
Well, the reason I have the picture, it was from an old Vestas catalog. It was in one of their catalogs, and I tried to find it online, but I couldn't. And we talked before. Safety was brand new at the time because OSHA and everything, they didn't know anything about the wind industry yet. So there's a picture of me going up on top of one of these while we're doing it. I guess I'm getting ready to bolt the blades down. I had tennis shoes on. I had a simple little belt around.
Just a waist belt.
Just a waist belt with the two lanyards. Crawl up there and just didn't even hook up the lanyards. You just work because you got to move around a lot. So screw the lanyards. And I wore
safety, Doug.
So I wore tennis shoes because they gripped all the metal really good. So that's why I like my tennis shoes.
I get it. Yeah. Thick rubber sole.
Yep.
Yeah.
And I could actually feel the lattice work with my feet.
Oh, so you knew the position of your foot?
Yes,
right?
I did.
Yep.
But eventually,
Man.
Dennis Smith, I don't know if you ever knew him. And,
Of course.
and I think Dave Shulgin too. I don't remember, but
Dennis Smith gave me my climb test.
okay, so him and maybe Dave or somebody else, I don't remember because it's been so damn long. We figured we have to get a safety thing going on here. Maybe John Lance too. I don't know.
Good call.
But so they started a safety program. So that's when we had to wear the steel toe boots and make sure our helmets on all the time. And eventually we went from the single belt to a harness. But there was a good 8-9 years before we went to anything more than just the single belt thing. But so safety was it turned out to be a kind of cool.
Did anybody get hurt before the safety program?
No, not really, believe it or not. We did have one guy. He's man, this dude was he's a pit bull. He's tough as hell. And this was down at one of our sites down south by Whitewater. And he came up in the morning and he always brought this plastic milk jug, and that was his coffee. He put a whole coffee pot in there and he'd be drinking it. I'm going to go climb these turbines, you know. And so that's when we eventually had the lad safe things for the cable. Well, he didn't hook it up. He just climbed up about 30 feet up in the air on an 80-foot turbine. And then he was thinking he hooked it up, but it was early morning. He didn't. So he was going to lean back against that lad safe and go like this with his milk jug. I mean, his coffee jug. And so he went like this and realized it wasn't attached. And down he went.
Oh.
He went down, hit the ground, bounced around for a little bit, and was pissed off because he lost a lot of coffee out of his jug.
Oh, my. How high?
30 feet.
Holy smokes.
He just was mad, and he hooked himself up and went up the turbine. We're like, holy crap, dude.
He must have been young.
He was, and he's, like I said, he is a pit bull.
Tough guy. Yeah.
His name was Paul Bushnell. If there's people that from Tehachapi or old-time Tehachapi, they'll know who he is, and they'll understand why I say he's a pit bull, because he was one tough dude, man.
30 feet,
but,
that'll hurt you.
There was some other instances. People have been killed, some really drastic ones where one guy down on one of the sites down below, those climbing belts, like we said, the turbine was actually spinning, and he got the lanyard hooked onto the main shaft, some part of the main shaft, and it sucked him in and just started tearing up pieces, which was sad. But and there might have been some few other injuries, but no, I think pretty much it was pretty safe most of the time. I don't remember anything really bad happening, but
smaller crew, tighter knit crew, close, helps.
And, we also, what's funny is, like if we had to replace a yaw gear, we just had a rope that came off the turbine and went down to a truck. It was like a big long rope, and there's a pulley up top, and you'd hook the yaw gear onto this rope, and then who's ever down below had a hold of the rope, and there'd be a way to attach the gearbox back to its rope again. And so we just lower it down and bring it down. Well, one of the guys, the yaw gear weighs anywhere between 130 and 145. It's a heavy little gearbox. Well, one of the guys that was holding the rope down below only weighed like $130. So when the guy up top pushed the yaw gear over the side, and he was supposed to slowly let it down and bring it in the truck, well, guess what? He took off. It was coming down, and he was going up.
And he held on.
He held on, but fortunately, he went as he went up, he went into the tower, and he grabbed the tower legs with his feet and hung onto it, and it stopped just a little bit above his head.
Okay, that's a tough man.
Well, he should have just let go, but for some reason, he was saying, no, I got to save it.
Yeah.
And if it would have kept going, if he didn't do it, he'd have been taken out, dude.
Jeez.
He'd have been done. Yeah.
All right, that's a tough one. Well, when I started, we pulled everything up by hand.
Yeah.
And if it was too heavy to pull, and we're 140 foot.
Use the truck?
If it was too heavy, we'd use pulleys.
Yeah, pulley at the bottom and attach it to the truck. And
pulley at the top, pulley at the bottom, attach the truck. Guy drives away.
Yep.
It was just very important to stop at the right time.
Yes.
Or else you had ripping and a cell off.
Yep.
Or the lid off.
Or at least a basket or something going on there. Yeah.
Yeah. But then we always competed to see how much weight you could pull up without stopping for the 140 foot towers.
Oh.
Some stuff you would just pull up quicker than setting up the system. And we would compete. I had 75 pounds was my max. No, I mean,
I don't remember anybody doing that, but
yeah,
I can imagine.
Well,
I'll show you.
That's right. Oh no, we had other games too. How many could you climb in a day? How fast could you do it? We had.
That's when you want to be on the flap kicking crew.
That's right. That's a lot of up and down.
Yeah.
I had
time cold as hell.
I had a couple of buddies. It was once you got down, how many push-ups could you do? It's stupid stuff.
Which reminds me, thinking of that
stuff.
I remember there's been thousands of people that went through that mountain while I was up there. Thousands.
Sure.
I'm not talking hundreds. I mean, I've seen so many people come and go through that mountain. And I remember we'd get these tough guys, bodybuilders and stuff, and just on an 80-foot turbine, nothing taller, just 80-foot turbine, they'd come up there, yeah, I can do this, and put the belt on and give them some tools and stuff. And after the first couple of days of them climbing, okay, they can lift weights, they can do all kinds of stuff, but to do this and go up these turbines, they couldn't move the day after, and they'd be crying, and I quit, I can't do this. But,
well, that's the secret. Don't lift with your arms. Use your legs. They're meant to lift the body.
Yeah, but these guys couldn't figure it out. It was funny.
That makes sense. That makes sense.
We've also had some poor guys that would get like 3/4 of the way up and then freak out because, sometimes they don't know that they're afraid of heights. But once you start climbing up those, you're like, oh, no. And they'd freeze up. And I remember I have to go up there and get behind them and help them come back down the tower and everything.
Jeez.
I was always afraid of heights. I didn't like it, but I didn't care. I just did it anyway.
How did you know you were afraid of heights then? How did you know you were afraid?
Because the first time I ever climbed one, I was scared shitless. I was like, man, I don't want to do this anymore. Oh, yeah, I do. This is fun.
I think a lot of people are like that, though.
Yeah.
First time nerves and things like that. Yeah.
Especially when you had to climb from the tower. Like on the V15, V17s, you had to climb from the tower and get around into the basket. Mm-hmm. And then you stand up. So just that transition, you're like, Then after a while, you get so used to how to do it that you just sling up there and you're done, But yeah.
Especially if you're not tying off, Doug.
Yeah. No, we tied off by that time.
Yeah. My climb test was, I don't remember the model, but it was a 140-foot tower, I think. But it skirted up this way, and then almost to the top, it went straight vertical. Do you know this one?
Yeah.
Lattice tower?
Yeah.
And I remember Dennis Smith he talked so much about when you're at that radius point, the cable that your lad safe is connected to, it's got pressure, and there's kind of a hook. So you got to really put your knee into it. And don't mess this up because it'll push you back off the tower.
Yep.
And he said it in such a way, I'm like, what? I might not, I just might be dangling from this cable.
Oh, yeah.
In my mind. And it wasn't that bad. But then you get up to the top and you got a lattice climb around the outside and go back down.
Yeah, we just call them the buck 40s. Yeah.
Buck 40. Yeah, that's right. Let's thank our friends over at Renew Safety, your proactive partner in safety solutions, with comprehensive safety consulting, ensuring compliance with all safety regulations and standards. Expert staffing solutions, providing trained safety professionals tailored to your project's needs. Commitment to sustainability, promoting a safe and sustainable working environment. Contact Renew Safety at info@renewsafety.com and speak to one of their industry experts about their proven track record for safety management on numerous projects. Or perhaps you're looking for construction safety staffing, contractor monitoring, incident investigation, or program development and training. Check out Renew Safety at renewsafety.com.
So when we maintained those buck 40s, we'd had to maintain the towers too. So we would hook to the middle of the tower up top by the nacelle, right below the nacelle, and what do you call that when you on a rope? Rappel. We'd rappel down we'd have a torque wrench, and we'd have to check the torque and all this stuff, and then we just kept moving down. We'd have to hang with our legs because, the wider it gets, you got to stay on the outside.
Right.
So we'd have two guys there, one taking this side like this, and the other one taking this side like that, and we'd go back and forth and stuff. And then once we got to the bottom, we were just swinging around having fun. But yeah.
Right.
But we had to torque them all like that to make sure they're all torqued and stuff. And
yes. I wasn't any good at lattice climbing on the 550s, 750s. It was just wider and bigger. And, so then you only have this one piece of angle iron that you're sitting on to scoot across. and then transition and scoot again. Mike Messier was teaching me this in like Nebraska a long freaking time ago. And man, he could just scoot along and scoot by more than get to the boulder you need to get to it. Come on. I remember I scooted to the one point where it was crossed, and I made it to the other side, and I went, no, I don't have that in me. So thankfully I was always with somebody that could do it. There were a couple of times I wasn't, and then I would rappel.
Yeah, Mike was there for a long. Mike Messier. So they were all climbing. They started off from the small turbines and went to the bigger ones. Over the years and stuff. So yeah.
He hired me.
Oh, did he really?
Yep. He hired me. I didn't like that lattice climbing though on those bigger ones when you only had that one single piece to connect with. Like, if you got a few points, that's fine. But,
well, at least the widest part is closer to the ground.
I'll still be dangling. No, that was. Hey, rappelling. You got trained to rappel then. Well, you guys,
we just did it.
You just did it, but like somebody was. You learned it from your partner.
Well, yeah, we kind of had a training thing on it,
right?
But because we were all brand new when we first got it, it's this round looking thing with grooves in it and a loop and a little loop at the bottom, and you ran the rope through that, and then you make a loop and hook it on the bottom. And so all you're doing is you loosen on that hook, and it would slowly let you down. The reason it ran through that thing is restriction. Friction. So it wouldn't just let you drop. So the tighter you pulled on it, the slower you went, and then you loosen on it and you go faster. So so we kind of had a training on it. Because we all started at the same time, figuring out how to do it. But I don't know who originally brought that in. It's like I said, it's a long time ago. But
yeah, well, I got trained to rappel. I had lots of different rappelling training. At Zahn. That was safety training.
Yeah.
Every year, right? You had to be able to save yourself, save your partner.
Well, for us, the only ones that repelled were the ones that were, like I said, doing the tower maintenance. Nobody else did. But then they started figuring you got to repel if you're stuck in the turbine up top.
Yeah.
And you got to go on the outside and come down. Mm-hmm. So
we had lots of different, kind of a ladder rack, a twisted rack, different types. And you got to try them all. And then you'd always have to do it on your carabiner as well.
Yep.
If you didn't have that. That was the scariest part. That's old school rappelling where you really got to wrap it around your hip to slow down. Now, none of that happens. That's not going on in the industry today. Do you know what's going on with these? So the safety devices, they have auto descent kind of controller mechanical mechanisms. So you have a bag with all your rope and you could kind of connect the end and then connect it to your body. And this mechanical device just has a friction in it and a gearing. So it's just lowering you at that same speed the whole time. You're just
along for the ride.
Yeah. So everybody goes up with those now.
Oh, wow.
Right. These bags and safety bags, or they're left in turbines, or, some companies just keep them up there. But no one's rappelling. And when you go get training on that every year, or maybe it's every 2 years now, I think you get to lower yourself about 6 feet, and you're doing it at the bottom on the ladder.
I remember Dave Shulgin and his training, they used to have those, maybe they still have those. Well, no, he doesn't need them anymore because of the new place. But the old place, he had those square looking training things for rappelling and stuff all the time.
Oh, the original, it was sort of like a mobile tower.
Yeah, that's kind of what it was.
Right.
Yeah. I remember seeing them, but that's all.
That's, I don't know. There is some, I say 6 feet. That's not quite right. I think you got to go like 25 feet or something like that. Yeah.
Even in their building that they have, because they converted the old Z building and they have a bunch of stuff up there, and they have that little tower and where my shop used to be. They have a tower in there, a little short thing that they train with.
They do. When's the last time you were in that building?
Actually last year.
Okay.
I finally went there. I went to see Dave. He wanted to show me the new place up there, show it all the stuff. And of course I couldn't wait to get up to Z building because that was my home for 20 years. So I loved it. I was there just reminiscing like, this is so cool being back up here.
Oh, well, he took me on a tour not too long ago and I had the same thing going on.
Yeah.
Yeah. Even like I was in spots and I was like, I felt nervous because that's where I got in trouble once. So that's where they were watching. And then I went up to the engineering office, had that window to look down on the floor.
Yeah.
I was like, this is what it looks like. I remember looking up there and, some chief engineer, watching it. You building my machine right.
Now, you remember where Ray and I's shop was, right?
All right.
So,
Well, I think so, but when I was in the building, I got a little lost.
well, it's there's a big stairwell, black. They painted the steps black. And if you're going to go up that stairwell, which is kind of in the middle of the building, it was the section. It does look different in there now, but it was that whole big area right there off the side where they have the training tower. But there used to be a fence.
But there was a room. Wasn't it a room?
We made a little room for our little office, but no, it was a big open area, and we had those cranes that came in and out of the building.
Yeah. I thought you had another office, shop area, and your windows faced north. Like you didn't have windows then.
No,
Okay. I was wrong.
we were all down below.
Yeah.
I mean, later on, I had an office upstairs.
No, like the shop was where an office is today or something is what I was thinking. It was further north in the building.
No, it's still the same.
Still the same.
Except for the protection fence is gone, the fence that protected you from Ray and I. So if you walked by us, you couldn't go in there.
Is that all it was?
Yes. So if you came on the other side of the fence, that's when we would attack. So.
Right. Okay. So there's a psychological issue. I thought it was a wall. Like I didn't.
Well, that's probably what happened in your head.
I have a block. Like this space, I can't see in there. I don't know what's going on in there. I'm not going in there.
We had so many people from manufacturing, because we had that giant shop up there. We rebuilt everything, replaced everything and stuff. So when manufacturing was assembling the turbines, they'd screw up like putting something together because they had to heat it up and they didn't get it hot enough or whatever might happen. Yeah. Well, they'd sometimes have us either come down there with our equipment to put it back together or take it apart, whatever it might be.
Oh, yeah.
Or sometimes they'd send people up for different problems to have us fixed. And the bosses down there knew like, oh, we're sending you into hell and you just don't know it. Because these poor souls, they came up to our shop. Yeah, we would just give them hell.
Yeah.
We gave them so much hell.
That's great.
But in the end, they'd laugh and smile. Maybe with you guys, we tease you for a week and then smile at you. But
Yeah.
We got a little softer as the years went by.
Yeah. It might have been a week, but it felt like a year.
Yes.
I loved it. Okay. When did the Z building go up then?
Well, that's the building I'm talking about, Z building.
Yeah, but when was that? When was it built?
We built that in, 86. Maybe started in 85, but yeah, maybe it was 85. I think we were putting it up in 85.
And it was designed to be a manufacturing hall?
No. It was just to be the O&M and office, everything building. And so we had offices downtown and people kind of scattered all over the place. We had more than one office because nothing was big enough. So we built that place. So the whole upstairs was for, the office people and everything, the president and whoever, that's their place up there. And then we had eventually part of the downstairs part became the warehouse for stuff. So it's kind of O&M and everything all together, all in one building. It was the all-in-one type thing.
Yeah.
So eventually we had the cranes and stuff in there because of the 550s when we started building the Z turbines.
Mm-hmm.
So we brought cranes in there and they started doing some of that stuff in there. And Ray and I at that time, that's probably what you're thinking of. That's what it is you're thinking of. Before that open area, Ray and I, our shop was on the other side, on the other wall of that. And we just had a window and a door and stuff. So you actually had to go inside our shop.
Yes. And you could access the north side, like by the parking lot.
Yes.
You had a door that went in.
Yes.
All right.
That's what you're thinking. I forgot about that
completely here.
Yeah, because that's where we did the smashing of the board thing. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Well, it's a long time ago.
Yeah.
A long time ago. Now the building's in good shape. Yeah, and they got three of those towers in the manufacturing area, and they can do GWO training, WinTech training.
Yeah.
It's
that's a pretty cool setup Dave has down there.
I love that it's still alive and being used.
Yeah.